Distraction is the silent destroyer of destiny. Every great dream begins with focus, but every lost dream begins with noise. People lose their way not because they don't have potential, but because they allow too many things to compete for their attention. You cannot build an empire while entertaining every distraction that knocks on your door. Every time you look away from your purpose, your momentum fades. Every time you chase what doesn't matter, you delay what does. If you want to rise higher, you must become ruthless about where your focus goes because your future depends on it. The reason many never reach the next level is not because they lack talent or resources, but because they keep scattering their power across too many directions. Focus is a force multiplier. It turns effort into elevation. A magnifying glass can't burn through anything until it holds the sunlight still in one spot. The same principle applies to your life. Your greatness cannot catch fire until your focus stays still long enough for the heat to build. The person who learns to control their focus becomes unstoppable because they stop feeding what weakens them and start nurturing what strengthens them. Clarity is where confidence begins. When you are clear about who you are and what you want, fear loses its grip on you. You no longer move based on emotion or the opinions of others, but from conviction and purpose. Most people are confused because they've never stopped long enough to ask, what do I truly want? They chase everything, and in the end they catch nothing. But the moment you gain clarity, your energy becomes powerful. You stop second-guessing yourself. You stop drifting. You start moving with direction and authority. Discipline is the tool that sharpens identity. Every act of consistency reshapes who you are. You become what you repeatedly do. When you train your mind to focus, you start to think differently, act differently, and eventually become someone unrecognizable to your past self. Discipline is not punishment. It's refinement. It's the process of removing what doesn't belong so that what's pure, strong, and divine can remain. When you master discipline, you no longer need to why most people stay distracted, chase success. You attract it. Cutting off the noise is not easy, but it is necessary. The world is loud. Everyone has an opinion. Everyone wants your attention. But if you give your mind to everything, you'll have nothing left for your mission. You must create boundaries around your focus. That means walking away from conversations that drain you, scrolling less and praying more. It means trading temporary pleasure for lasting growth. It means choosing silence over distraction because silence sharpens your spirit. When the noise fades, your inner voice grows stronger. Transformation is precise work. You can't change your life by doing everything. You change it by doing what matters most consistently, deliberately, and with excellence. Every great result comes from focus applied over time. Success doesn't require perfection, it requires precision. One step taken with purpose is better than 1,000 taken in confusion. The sharper your focus, the cleaner your cut through resistance. You don't need to rush. You need to refine. Slow progress with purpose will always outperform fast movement without meaning. You must learn to protect your focus like it's your most valuable asset, because it is. Where focus goes, energy flows. Every minute spent on what doesn't move you forward is a minute stolen from your destiny. Be careful what you allow into your mind. Guard your eyes. Guard your ears. Guard your time. Not everyone deserves access to your attention. Some people are distractions in disguise, sent to slow you down. If you want to build a life that matters, you must choose peace over popularity, purpose over pleasure, and growth over gossip. There is a version of you that the world has not seen yet. That version is hidden behind your focus. The more you discipline your thoughts, the more that powerful version begins to emerge. One day people will look at you and wonder how you did it, how you transformed, how you grew, how you became so unshakable. The truth will be simple. You decided to stop being average. You decided to sharpen your focus until your old self couldn't even. Identity drives behavior. Recognize the new you. The mind that is fixed on purpose cannot be defeated. Life will test you. Challenges will come. But when you know your mission, nothing can pull you off course. Pain becomes fuel. Rejection becomes redirection. Disappointment becomes discipline. Every obstacle becomes an opportunity to sharpen your edge. You stop asking why me and start declaring try me. Because focus gives you strength and strength gives you victory. Every day is another chance to practice focus. Every morning you wake up, you have a choice to live with distraction or to live with direction. The quality of your life will always mirror the quality of your focus. The sharper you become mentally, the higher you rise spiritually and financially. The world doesn't need a louder version of you. It needs a focused one. The one who knows exactly where they're going and refuses to stop until they get there. You said 2ND expanded and don't add any ending sentence and make it lengthy in 10 paragraph without heading and conclusia. ChatGPT said the reason most people never experience true transformation is because their energy is scattered. They're doing too many things, chasing too many goals, trying to please too many people, and as a result, they never make real progress in any direction. Focus is the most powerful force you possess, yet it's the one thing the world constantly tries to steal from you. Every distraction is a thief dressed as entertainment. Every wasted hour is a seed of destiny that never got planted. When you learn to take control of your focus, you take control of your future. Focus multiplies power. It takes average effort and turns it into extraordinary results. The difference between those who make progress and those who stay stuck isn't talent, it's concentration. A focused person can achieve in 1 year what a distracted person can't do in 10. Because when you give your full attention to something, you accelerate the process of growth. You stop leaking energy through doubt, through fear, through procrastination. You start operating with intensity. You start moving with clarity, and that's when things begin to shift in your favor. Focus demands sacrifice. You cannot become great without giving up what's average. You cannot hold on to distractions and expect elevation. There's always a price for greatness, and the currency is your attention. You must decide what you're willing to walk away from to become who you're meant to be. Maybe it's toxic people. Maybe it's endless entertainment. Maybe it's your comfort zone. But one thing is certain, the moment you choose focus over comfort, you separate yourself from the crowd, because the crowd loves noise, but the chosen love clarity. How to become mentally unstoppable. Focus is not about doing more. It's about doing less, but with deeper intention. It's about putting your whole self into the things that truly matter. When you focus, you give power to what you prioritize. The world will always tempt you with new opportunities, new trams, new distractions. But you must have the strength to say no to the many so you can say yes to the few that align with your purpose. A laser cuts through steel not because it's strong, but because its energy is concentrated. Your life becomes powerful when your energy is focused. There's something sacred about a focused mind. It becomes a magnet for results. When you fix your eyes on a vision and refuse to be moved, you attract everything you need to fulfill it. Ideas begin to flow. People begin to appear. Doors begin to open. It's not luck, it's alignment. The universe, God, creation, they all respond to the energy of focus. But the moment you allow your attention to drift, that energy disperses. You lose momentum. You lose clarity. You lose the fire that was pushing you forward. Focus creates flow. It takes you out of chaos and into creation. When your mind is scattered, you waste energy on things that don't matter. But when your focus sharpens, your performance becomes effortless. You start to feel guided. You stop fighting yourself. You begin to trust the process. You stop chasing validation and start chasing mastery. And when you reach that level of alignment, you no longer compete with others. You compete only with the version of yourself you were yesterday. Focus requires patience. It's not about instant gratification. It's about building something that lasts. Every time you stay consistent in silence, you are sharpening your edge. Every moment you resist distraction, you are preparing for elevation. Focus doesn't give you immediate results. It builds inner strength. It teaches you endurance. It matures you for the level you're praying for. Because success isn't given to the impatient. It's given to those who can stay locked in when nothing seems to be happening. Focus is the discipline of ignoring the noise while trusting the process. It's the ability to see beyond the present moment and keep your eyes on what's ahead. You may not have all the answers, but if you stay focused, you'll find them. You may not know how everything will work out, but if you refuse to be distracted, everything will align in due time. Focus makes you calm in chaos. It makes you steady in storms. It makes you unshakable when others panic, because you know where you're going and you've already decided that quitting is not an option. The moment you choose focus, the world will test your decision. You'll face temptations designed to pull discipline vs motivation you back into comfort. You'll face people who won't understand your silence or your discipline. You'll face opportunities that look good, but aren't good for you. But that's where focus reveals its strength. It gives you discernment. It teaches you to say no with confidence, to walk alone with peace, and to wait for what aligns with your purpose instead of chasing what distracts from it. When your focus becomes unbreakable, you become unstoppable. You stop being reactive and start being intentional. You stop letting life happen to you and start creating life from within you. Everything you want is already available, but it will only come into reach when your focus becomes sharper than your fear. The person you're meant to be is already inside you, waiting for the moment. You finally eliminate the noise, silence the doubt, and give your full attention to the mission in front of you. You said 3RD, expand it, and don't add any ending sentence, and make it lengthy in 10 paragraphs without heading and conclusion. ChatGPT said clarity is the foundation of every transformation. Without clarity, you wander through life reacting instead of creating. You wake up busy but not productive, active but not advancing, moving but not progressing. Most people are not failing because they lack effort. They're failing because they lack direction. When you don't know where you're going, every road looks right and every distraction feels important. But the moment clarity enters your mind, confusion loses its power. You begin to see what truly matters, and suddenly every decision becomes easier because your purpose becomes visible. When you gain clarity, you stop chasing after everything and start moving towards something specific. You stop being pulled in every direction by opportunities that don't align with your calling. Clarity gives you vision, and vision gives you strength. You no longer waste your time trying to please everyone or prove yourself. You start building from conviction, not comparison. The clearer your vision, the stronger your focus, and the more unstoppable your momentum becomes. Without clarity, effort feels heavy. With clarity, effort becomes meaningful. Clarity doesn't come from overthinking. It comes from deciding. You must make a firm decision about what you want and who you intend to become. Too many people wait for life to show them their path when life is waiting for them to choose it. You cannot pray for direction while refusing to move your feet. The act of deciding sharpens your focus. It filters your environment, your habits, and even your relationships. When you decide who you are, everything that doesn't match that identity starts to fall away naturally. That's the power of clarity. It cleanses your path. Clarity gives birth to confidence. The power of a focused mind. You no longer question if you're capable. You start walking like you already are. Doubt fades when direction becomes clear. Confidence isn't arrogance. It's the calm assurance that you're aligned with purpose. People who lack clarity often look for approval from others, but those who know their path don't need permission. They move quietly but powerfully. Their focus speaks louder than their words. That's why confidence isn't built through motivation. It's built through direction. You cannot feel powerful while living in confusion. When you operate with clarity, your energy changes. You stop rushing. You stop panicking, and you stop comparing your journey to someone else's timeline. Clarity teaches you patience because you know where you're headed. You understand that progress is not always loud. Sometimes it's the quiet work done behind closed doors. While others are chasing validation, you're building foundation. You don't need to announce what you're doing because you know what's coming. You move differently when you're certain of your destination. Clarity demands honesty. You can't lie to yourself and expect to see clearly. You must face the truth about your habits, your priorities, and your distractions. You must confront what's holding you back and admit what needs to change. This level of honesty is uncomfortable, but it's liberating. It breaks the chains of confusion and replaces them with awareness. Once you can see yourself truthfully, you can shape yourself powerfully. Growth always starts with clarity, and clarity always starts with truth. Clarity makes your time sacred. You begin to treat every hour like an investment, not a donation. You become intentional with what you give your mind to. You start saying no more often, not out of arrogance, but out of alignment. You realize that not everything deserves your attention. Not every conversation deserves your voice, and not every invitation deserves your presence. When you value your focus, you protect it. Clarity helps you understand that time wasted on distraction is destiny delayed. The more clarity you have, the less chaos you experience. Confusion breeds anxiety, but clarity breeds peace. It doesn't mean everything in your life becomes perfect, but it means you stop being controlled by uncertainty. You trust the process. You understand that temporary setbacks are part of long-term direction. Clarity allows you to keep moving forward even when the path is foggy because your internal compass, your purpose remains unchanged. You stop being moved by external noise because small habits, big transformation, you're guided by internal vision. Clarity brings discipline to your emotions. You stop reacting to every situation and start responding with wisdom. You no longer let anger, fear, or frustration dictate your actions. When you're clear about your purpose, your emotions become servants to your mission, not masters over it. You rise above negativity and distractions because you understand that emotional maturity is part of focus. You don't waste energy on what doesn't move you forward. Every choice becomes a reflection of your clarity. Clarity turns ordinary people into extraordinary leaders. It gives you direction when others are lost. It gives you courage when others are uncertain. It gives you persistence when others quit. When you are clear on your calling, you no longer chase success. You become success in motion. The world begins to recognize your certainty, your confidence, and your conviction, and in that clarity, you find the quiet power that transforms potential into purpose, confusion into confidence, and dreams into destiny. You set forth, expand it, and don't add any ending sentence, and make it lengthy in 10 paragraphs without heading and conclusion. ChatGPT said discipline is the bridge between intention and manifestation. Everyone dreams, everyone plans, but only those who master discipline see their desires take form in reality. Discipline doesn't shout, it whispers through consistent action. It's not built in moments of excitement, but in moments of decision when you're tired, uninspired, and still choose to move forward. It's in those quiet moments when nobody's watching that the foundation of greatness is laid. Discipline doesn't ask how you feel. It reminds you of what you said you'd do long after the mood you made the promise and has faded. Discipline is not punishment. It's protection. It guards you from your lower self, the part of you that wants comfort instead of growth, ease instead of excellence, distraction instead of destiny. Discipline builds a wall around your focus and says no intruders allowed. It's the structure that supports your dream when motivation runs dry. The truth is you will not always feel inspired, but you can always stay disciplined. And that's the difference between those who talk about change and those who live in transformation. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, you build strength that cannot be taken away. Each act of consistency requires your identity. You begin to see yourself differently, not as someone who tries, but as someone who commits. That internal shift is where real change begins. Because when your mind starts to believe in your consistency, your actions follow naturally. You know, raising your standards longer fight against yourself. You work with yourself. Discipline trains your mind to obey your purpose, not your feelings. Discipline is an act of self-respect. When you keep your promises to yourself, you reinforce your worth. You show yourself that your word matters. Every time you say you'll do something and actually do it, you send a message to your subconscious that you can be trusted. That trust is the foundation of confidence. You can't build true self-belief if you constantly break your own commitments. The disciplined person doesn't need external validation. Their confidence comes from knowing they're dependable to themselves. Discipline separates the dreamers from the doers. Everyone wants results, but not everyone is willing to pay the price of repetition. Success doesn't come from occasional effort. It's born from daily devotion. Discipline isn't glamorous. It's routine. It's waking up early when it's easier to sleep in. It's studying when others are scrolling. It's practicing when nobody claps. And while others look for motivation, the disciplined are building momentum. By the time motivation shows up, they're already ahead. Discipline builds mastery. It transforms average effort into excellence through consistent refinement. You can't master anything by doing it once in a while. The process of becoming great is repetitive, deliberate, and sometimes monotonous. But what feels repetitive to others feels refining to the disciplined, because they understand that every repetition is progress. Every time they show up, even imperfectly, they sharpen their edge. Discipline turns ordinary actions into extraordinary outcomes. Discipline also creates freedom. Most people think discipline restricts them, but it actually liberates them. When you are disciplined, you are no longer controlled by impulses, emotions, or distractions. You become the architect of your own life. You control your habits instead of letting your habits control you. That's true freedom. Not doing whatever you want, but having the power to do what's right for you, even when it's hard. Discipline gives you control over your destiny because it puts your actions in alignment with your intentions. Discipline demands sacrifice. You can't hold on to old habits and expect a new level of success. There are parts of you that must die so a greater version of you can live. You must be willing to let go of ease, excuses, and entitlement. Every level of growth requires a trade. You can't keep what's comfortable and expect transformation. Discipline requires that you give up temporary pleasure for permanent growth. That's the price of becoming someone new. The willingness to surrender who you were for who you're becoming. Discipline strengthens your resilience. When you train yourself to do what must be done, you build emotional and mental toughness. You stop running from challenges and stop letting circumstances control you. Start embracing them. You begin to see pressure as preparation. Discipline teaches you to stand tall when others crumble, to persist when others pause, to fight when others flee. Because through discipline, pain loses its power and purpose takes control. Every challenge becomes another opportunity to prove to yourself that you can endure and still rise. Discipline is the invisible power that separates potential from performance. It's not talent, luck, or timing that determines your success. It's consistency. The person who chooses discipline day after day becomes unrecognizable over time. Their habits change, their mindset shifts, their environment evolves. They stop being average and start becoming exceptional. And it all begins with a decision. The decision to do what must be done. Not when it's easy, but especially when it's not. You said fifth, span it. And don't add any ending sentence and make it lengthy in 10 paragraphs without heading and conclusion. ChatGPT said cutting off the noise is one of the hardest but most necessary parts of growth. The world is loud. Everyone wants your attention. Every device is calling your name, and every platform is competing for your mind. But if you want to create something powerful, something meaningful, you have to learn the art of silence. Silence is not weakness, it's strength under control. It's the ability to stay calm while everyone else is chasing chaos. It's the discipline to step back from the noise so you can hear the voice within you. Growth doesn't happen in noise. It happens in stillness. Noise is not just sound, it's distraction in every form. It's the opinions of others, the endless scrolling, the constant comparison, and the addiction to validation. The more you entertain noise, the less you hear your own thoughts. The reason so many people feel lost isn't because they lack potential. It's because their mind is too cluttered to receive direction. You can't hear divine instruction in a distracted mind. To elevate, you must eliminate. To see clearly, you how to level up your life must separate from the noise that clouds your vision. When you start cutting off the noise, you begin to see how much of it was controlling you. You realize that you weren't tired, you were overstimulated, you weren't unmotivated, you were distracted. The mind can only process so much before it starts to shut down. That's why silence feels uncomfortable at first, because your brain is detoxing from chaos. But once you get past that discomfort, you start to feel something powerful, clarity, and with clarity comes peace. Peace is the byproduct of a focused mind. When you remove distractions, you make space for wisdom. The quieter your environment becomes, the louder your intuition gets. You start to understand what truly matters and what never did. You begin to notice how much energy you were wasting on things that don't build you. You stop chasing noise and start building meaning. The person who learns to control their environment gains control over their emotions. Because when you master your atmosphere, you master your attitude. Cutting off the noise also means learning how to detach from people who feed your confusion. Some people love chaos because it distracts them from confronting their own lack of purpose. You cannot heal in the same environment that keeps wounding you. You must protect your peace like your life depends on it, because it does. When you remove yourself from environments of gossip, drama, and negativity, you'll notice your energy returning, your creativity awakening, and your confidence rebuilding. Sometimes peace is not found. It's created by separation. The noise of the world will always try to pull you into its rhythm. It wants you to move faster, talk louder, and act without thinking. But greatness requires stillness. Every person who has achieved something extraordinary learned to separate from the crowd. They learned the value of thinking deeply, planning quietly, and executing consistently. When you learn to live in silence, you gain power that noisy people never experience. The power of direction, the power of focus, and the power of peace. You don't have to announce everything you're doing. In fact, the more silent you become, the final message become unrecognizable, stronger you get. Noise often comes from insecurity. People who talk too much about what they're going to do usually never do it. But those who move in silence are dangerous in the best way. They don't need validation. Their results speak for them. Silence is strategy. It's how you conserve energy, protect your dreams, and move with precision while everyone else wastes energy seeking attention. When you silence the noise, you start to hear your own rhythm. You begin to feel connected to your purpose again. You notice the beauty in the simple moments, the stillness of the morning, the calmness of deep focus, the strength that comes from solitude. You start realizing that peace isn't the absence of work, it's the presence of purpose. Noise keeps you reactive, but silence makes you intentional. You stop moving just to move, and you start moving with meaning. Silence also sharpens your discernment. You begin to sense what's right for you and what isn't. You can feel when something is off, even if it looks good on the surface. When the world gets quiet around you, your spirit becomes more alert. You start hearing ideas that you couldn't hear before, receiving insights that were previously buried under distraction. That's the magic of silence. It's not empty, it's full of answers. But those answers can only be heard by the ones who have trained themselves to listen. When you cut off the noise, you become centered. You stop running after everything and start attracting what aligns with you. Your presence becomes powerful. Your words gain weight and your actions begin to carry intention. You're no longer reacting to life. You're responding with purpose. The more you separate from the noise, the more you reconnect with the truth of who you are. And once you find that stillness within, no amount of external noise can ever shake the peace you've built. You said sixth. Expand it and don't add any ending sentence and make it lengthy in 10 paragraphs without heading and conclusion. ChatGPT said transformation is not an accident. It's the result of precision.